If you have to leave early, not a big deal. Don't feel bad about it at all. I'll try to get through as much information as we can. You have all the packet to take home, so you'll have it to review later, and I understand people have commitments, so not a big deal. All right, so everybody knows each other. One purpose of the introductions, I think, is, I've been doing the lunch and learn and happy hours now for, I don't think a year, maybe 2 years? Almost very, very consistently for the past year. And there's some great things that come out of them. Not only I get a better relationship with you all, but you get to meet some of your peers sometimes that you might not otherwise meet. Like you've maybe heard of that person, or what happens, it's really weird where you could have a transaction with somebody that you met, like Tamara did with Doris Ong in your office, and because they had met at the event, they had a transaction that maybe might not have gone so well if they didn't have a relationship from coming to the lunch and learn together. So it's cool. Real estate's such a community. It's a small world anyway. And the more people you meet, you never know. It's always fun to say, hey, Kim, it's Leslie Hancock. I got an offer on one of your places. And it's neat to be able to do it that way. It's usually like things go together a little smoother. Yeah. So that's part of this. And I wanted to start off with, I am a coaching junkie, and those of you that know me, I've been in various coaching programs for about the last 15 years, and one of the programs was called Strategic Coach, and they always started off the one-day meeting with something that they called positive focus. And positive focus is something where you kind of think about one thing that is good in your life that you're grateful for. Something, it could be business, it could be personal, but just focus on, take a moment and think about one thing that you're grateful for, and then we'll get started. And the purpose of that is everybody kind of came in here with their own stuff going on in their life. They've got 3 transactions that are going sideways, they were late getting here, they've got all kinds of other responsibilities going on, and you're just got to give your pulse an opportunity to slow down and really enjoy what we're going to go through for the next hour, because I think it's so important. So if we could, it's 3:16 now, we'll just take a couple of quick minutes and to yourself, and you can write it down. Just kind of think of one thing that you're grateful for. We'll start with that.
Do you want us to definitely write it down, or can we just kind of...
You can just think about it,
Feel it in it. Okay, great. I want to be a good student.
Everybody good? The one thing? Has anybody ever seen the short film The Secret, or maybe read the book The Secret? There was a guy in that in The Secret. His name is Bob Proctor, and years ago I was looking into getting into a new coaching program, and heard about Bob's program and talked to Bob's setup guy about what it would be like to coach with him and whatever, and he arranged a one-on-one phone call. Bob's an old guy. I don't actually know how he is now. He's somewhere in his 80s. Very brilliant. But he goes, Ron, let me give you one piece of advice, and if you do this one thing every day, I promise you that it'll change your life. He said, if you start your day off every day and write down 10 things that you're grateful for. He said, it doesn't really have to be something different every day. You can write the same thing every day, but if you write down 10 things that you're grateful for, I promise that'll change your life. I haven't been 100% consistent on doing that, but I would just encourage you to start your days off that way too. I've got my team doing it, and it really changes things. It changes your perspective. So when you start your day off with a gratitude focus, it just kind of puts everything else in perspective. Let's see. So help me to understand this. The invite that went out was about having your best year ever. 2014, make it your best year ever. And I know most people, when they do business planning, Has everybody done a business plan before? Can I see, raise your hands if you've done some sort of business plan? Okay, cool. Um, how did it go? Did you put numbers together, or was it more kind of, writing about what it was going to look like, colorful? How did that format work? Anybody?
Certainly, numbers is key for me in that. I've done a little bit of more story visualization about it, but
Okay.
numbers tend to be what I'm more focused on.
Yeah, a lot of us is focus. Anybody do anything other than numbers?
I've done goal setting,
Okay.
but
Okay,
this
good.
year is gonna be numbers.
Okay, good. I think there's a combination of both that you need to
Sure,
have.
right.
For me anyway, part of what we did yesterday was more kind of big picture. It wasn't as numbers focused, and I thought that maybe it needed to be a little bit more numbers focused. So help me to understand maybe what goals that you have for today. So for me to know today was a success, what you'd like to walk away with. Tamara?
Oh, sorry, I'm just like in my own little head thinking about stuff. Just looking through all of this, I mean, this is all stuff that I think I do anyway, so it's just a good refresher though, and normally I start this process, end of January by the time I get around to it.
Yeah.
So this is good, and that's why I'm here, just because it's,
Cool.
December, and it's, just revamping and rethinking and just trying to get focused for the start of the year.
I love it. Rick, what about you?
I'm not as much of a planner as maybe the rest of you are. I'm sort of a spontaneous guy that's thankful and grateful that, I found a new business at 46, 47 when I moved up here to Seattle. And I love Seattle. Have remarried and still married, which is sort of a grateful thing, I guess.
Mhm.
But I don't do really a formal plan. I've just had, phenomenal success sort of being myself and not being,
Yeah.
a trained real estate agent, I guess.
Yeah.
And I worked in the film and television business, which was, again, a spontaneous business, you never knew where you were sort of going, and every time you went in, for a job, you were making a presentation as, either a producer or director, or showing your work and all that stuff. So that's sort of the theme I've worked on.
Okay, cool.
And, but the business is changing so much. The tech part, I'm good at, and everybody thinks I'm really good at, but I gotta tell you, I'm tech-tarded.
That's a new phrase.
way to say it.
I like that one.
Yeah, you can have it. Yeah,
You
we're
coin
on
it.
the same.
That's what our kids are for.
Yeah.
One day they'll move out.
Ginger, what about you?
I've always been a big goal setter, and particularly when I write them down, I meet them. If I do them mentally, I usually have a minimum and a maximum, and I find I meet the minimum
Mhm.
and exceed it. But I think the written ones are interesting because, like one time I did an exercise where we went to a seminar and we had to write down 12 things that we wanted to do in the next year, and then they kept our letter. And I had big ones that would seem impossible to me. And then I forgot about the letter, and a year later it came, and within about a month of it coming, almost all of them were met.
Wow.
So that was a pretty cool thing, and I've seen that happen with other people that did the same seminar. But this year, I have almost I don't have any goals. I'm just bouncing all over.
Oh, good.
And
Good timing.
I figured I needed some focus.
Awesome. Kim, what about you?
I think Rick and I have a lot in common. Love Rick, by the way. I'm not a numbers guy per se. I like to think outside the box. I don't like to do what all the other people do in any industry that I've been in. And I guess that's my creative side. I'm not an artist or anything like that, but I have a creative side, and my creative side is thinking outside the box, trying to do something new, something that hasn't been done before. And I get great pleasure out of that. And so that's, I'm here to listen, because I always glean new pieces of helpful information from people and from you and things like this. So that's why I came. But But, that's, yeah, I'm like a round peg in a square hole.
That's good.
That's good, I should. go
Difference
back to
better a
sitting
lot.
across from you.
Oh, what about you?
Well, I came because I think it's a good idea to have some more concrete goals. I've done a lot of personal goal planning, but in the business together, I think that would be having some tools, more tools in my toolbox, let's put it that way.
Oh, good.
The visionary thing, the visions, it might have been like writing down, goals for me personally, whether it be income or what I want to learn, or new things that I want to tackle, or getting better shape, or whatever they are personally. So I can kind of write those down. But I'm really interested in the whole visionary part of it, of actually feeling the emotions when you're visualizing it. So you already feel it, and I'm having a little bit of difficulty with that. But I'm definitely getting there.
Cool.
It's kind of the neurons are starting to fire.
There's something we're going to do today that is going to help with that.
Okay, yeah. So I'm really big on that.
Good.
That it really excites me. And another thing I thought about, just came to my mind, is finding out what's blocking us when there are certain goals that we maybe repetitively aren't meeting. Kind of backing it up and going, okay, why am I not meeting this goal? Why am I not regularly doing this?
Yeah.
What's blocking me from doing that?
Yeah.
So those are kind of things that I'd like to dive into.
Okay, cool. Lisa?
I'm just here to listen, but also, I've already set my goals for 2014, some of them, and I also did a letter, like Ginger, that I'll get next year.
Oh, wow.
I'm really, I'm focusing on my networking God, what's the word I'm looking for here? My marketing. Because I'm kind of new and I don't have a lot to gauge from, so that's kind of where I'm at.
Okay, good. Well, good. You're a sponge. You're just taking it all in.
Yep.
That's good.
Well, so I've been in the business 23 years and was extremely driven, and needed to. I had 5 young kids at the time. Needed to make a lot of money. Very goal oriented. And as I've had my success, and the other things have become more important than being at the top in real estate. There's just so much more to my life, I feel like, that is taking priority. So at the same time, I don't want to, I can't lose my business. I mean, I need to sustain it. And so I have a little bit of an internal struggle going on. Actually, I have for the last few years, because I'm feeling like I want to continue to do well in the business, but I don't want it to consume me, because for me, there's so many other facets to my life that take priority. And so, like you were saying, I have actually an easier time setting goals in my personal and spiritual life than I do really in my business at this point, because so much of it after a long time becomes kind of clockwork. But I'm intrigued by what you said about there are a couple of goals that I've set for a couple years that I'm not meeting, more in the tech end of it. And that's such an interesting idea. What is it that is blocking? What is the fear? There's something probably deep down that I don't understand about myself. And so I kind of like that. And I really believe in having a vision and the big picture, like starting way up here and then drilling down. And that you can't do it here today. There's just no way. This will give us some guidelines. But I mean, honestly, for me, I have to get alone. I have to have at least an entire day, maybe a whole weekend, where I'm just like really listening to the inside of me and getting down into my gut and knowing what is it that really motivates me, what am I passionate about, and then from there, kind of planning my life. So I think it's critical. And so I don't mean to say that, I think this is really good because it is tools, but I think it's really, to do it right, you have to make it something that you really take some serious time with.
You bet.
Because our life is so important. It's not just for us. It's about everyone that we touch.
Right.
So.
Yeah. You're going to
Yeah.
get some of that today for sure. Yeah. And today, really, like Leslie said, you're not going to complete everything today. There's some things that we'll talk about today that you're going to want to take home and work on, and anything we do today, like when you do a vision, and I shared my 1-year vision in there. I'm just trying to really be authentic and transparent with things. That's not etched in stone. That's like I can go back and edit that and say, well, shoot, maybe this one I need to phrase this a little bit differently. And I haven't done my 5-year vision yet. That's a homework assignment that I have to do by the end of the month. But it's your life, and you get to kind of design it in any way that you want. And it's, I encourage you to laminate it, just because when you laminate something, it takes on kind of a life of its own. It's like it's an official document now.
You can't ruin
But
it.
you can, but you can still go back and edit it. There's more lamination paper. Yeah.
Listening to you speak, Leslie, it seems like your best year ever would be how to do the same in less time, right? So you get to have that rest of your life, right? Real estate's not your life, it's a support of your life. I have been blessed to be coached by Buffini and Company for the last 14 years, so writing goals is nothing new to me. But where I struggle is I'm not, it sounds like you and I might make a good match. You sound very global, I'm very specific. So I struggle with those big goals. I know in my heart, if I take care of the day, the month, the week, the year, those things are all taken care of as long as I do what I need to do each day. So for me, it's backing that out, understanding what the goal is, and getting there. But what my hope is today is just to look at it a different way. See if there's something else. There's always a way to look at things in a different light, glean something different from it. So
Awesome. So my goal for today.
You both wear purple, knowing each other.
And sat together too.
you missed the memo. Sorry. Yes.
Rick, get that on the video, would you?
Yes, right.
Color coordinated. Yeah.
There we go.
There you go. Rick's a
Purple
photographer. Actually,
team.
Rick and Tony are amazing photographers too. Yeah. Okay, cool. Well, my goal for doing these 2 planning events really is to just add value in some way. So I haven't had a strong realtor focus my whole career. So I've been doing this for 23 years also. And really up until about 3 years ago, I was always more client focused. And I have been successful in my business. And now that I'm in this coaching program, the core training, it kind of blows me away how I was so successful, because it's like I had no systems, no structure or anything other than really wanting to take great care of my clients. So this is a little bit of a value add, and my goal and hopes for today for you is that you just take one idea away from here. Anytime I went to an event, a seminar, anything, that was what I just, if I could just have 1 or 2 ideas, then it was worth my time. And my hope is that you take away 1 or 2 ideas from today. So there's a podcast that I heard about called The Miracle Morning. Did I send anybody that book? Anybody get a copy of The Miracle Morning book from me? So it's this young guy that has an amazing story. He was when he was 20 years old, he was in a head-on car accident. Was told he actually was dead for 6 minutes, and he was told he would never walk again. And 6 weeks later, he walked, and he went on to run an ultra marathon, a 52-mile marathon. And he's now an author, a speaker, and I always like to get an idea from multiple sources. Well, he put together a thing, and I want to talk about what he shares are the 6 most common but not so obvious causes of a mediocre year. And there's a quote by Seth Godin that says, "Is there a difference between average and mediocre?" And he says, "Not so much." And I have a teenage daughter who's 16, and I don't know if you've gone through this with your 16-year-old, where she's just really negative lately. It's like, I hate school, I hate swimming, I hate DECA, it's so dark in the morning, and it always has to be her idea. So I was driving her to school the other day, and I was thinking of, how can I phrase this where it can become her idea? And I said, honey, I think you need to really look at the way you're talking to yourself. And I said, when you say you hate all those things, then it becomes this self-fulfilling prophecy, and it magnifies whatever you're focusing on. I said, when I was 27, I was living in Honolulu, and I got a job as a commodities broker, and the latest that we started work was 5 a.m. I had to be there in my suit at 5 a.m. And if I was trading foreign currencies, the foreign currency market opened at 3:15 Hawaii time a.m. So I had to be there like at 5 after 3, get all set up, and then go to work. Well, there were mornings when I walked across the street to my office with my briefcase and my suit on, and people were pouring out of the bars. And I was kind of like, wow, what's wrong with my picture? But I was always really excited, and I said, now, if I had had that same attitude, gosh, I'm so tired, or it's way too early, or I hate my job, or whatever, imagine what kind of success I would have had. Probably not so much. But I was really excited about it. And in my first year, right out of the Navy as a commodities broker, I made their Leaders Club, which qualified me to go to a company trip that they flew us first class to Rio de Janeiro. We got to spend a week in Rio de Janeiro, my girlfriend and I. So it was really cool. So I just think that so much of what we tell ourselves, our mind believes. And some of these causes, like the most common cause of a not so obvious, the most common cause of a mediocre year is really starting out with a mediocre December. And a lot of people, what they do is it really starts around Thanksgiving. And most people around Thanksgiving overeat or overdrink or watch too much television or sleep in too late. And what happens is you have kind of this, it carries over into December. And there's a lot of holiday parties, and there's a lot of functions going on, and a lot of people kind of take the entire month of December off. And they do, what I've done many, many times is I keep telling myself, I've got to sit down and do my business plan. I really need to do that. When I'm going to do it actually after New Year's Eve is when I'm going to do it. And I've got all these big hopes for that weekend, New Year's weekend, whatever, to do it. And if I go out and do something stupid on New Year's Eve, then I'm in no shape to do it New Year's Day. And then the week starts, and usually I haven't even done it by January. And if I'm lucky, it'll get done by February. And that's really a good way to start your year off the wrong way. Wouldn't you agree? And it happens all the time. And they say there's this rule called the 95% reality, and it's 95% of society is not living up to their potential. And however you look at your potential, 95%. So do you want to be part of that 95%, or do you want to do something differently? And it's whatever needs to be differently in your life. So the first cause is what's called an inaccurate self-image. How do you look at yourself? And I think that sometimes if you have a goal that you've wanted to do for a long time, maybe your self-image is what is holding you back from accomplishing that goal. So I was a Navy diver. I was in amazing shape for 6 years, and when I moved to Seattle, it got so cold in the winter that I kind of started to hibernate, and I gained weight. And for the longest time, my goal has been to weigh 170 pounds. Every year when I do my goals, I write, I will weigh. I've learned these techniques on how to phrase it the right way, and it's got to be in the I will, and I'm still not. So I'm kind of like, why is that? What are you doing? And it's just, there are some habits.
You haven't said I do. I currently weigh. That's the language
But I think
I've heard,
that
right?
there's the
makes any
writing
difference.
down of it, and there's the change in your habits and your discipline. So inaccurate self-image. I would encourage you to take a look at that, and then maybe there's something there.
Well, you could forgive yourself because you're not.
Hey Ron, you're not that far off of 170. Let it fly.
Acceptance
So
is
there's
a
an
good
author,
thing, right? Sometimes.
T. Harv Eker says, your external world will always be a reflection of your internal world. How you look at yourself. Are you holding yourself back from whatever it is that you would like to accomplish? Number 2, a mediocre circle of influence. They say that you are an average of the 5 people that you spend the most time with. That one was huge for me. I kind of looked around at some of our friends, and if one of my goals, and I have the 7 areas of my life, we're going to do this thing called the Wheel of Life, 7 areas. One of them is fitness. And if I have a goal of being this really fit person and honoring my body, but my peer group are people that don't work out and overeat and overdrink, and I spend the most time with them, there's a little like a mismatch there. I'm probably never going to get to where I wanted to be, because you have people love to hold you back. You're fine, Ron. How many people are heavier than you? So really, they have a way of, don't they? They'll hold you back, and if you start getting ahead, you'll run the risk of, oh shoot, now they're no longer my friends because we want to head over for a kale salad, and nobody eats kale anymore, even though it's a superfood. So they say, the average, you have to look at it, whether it's professionally, financially, physically, whatever your goals are, look at those 5 people that you spend the most time with. Number 3, an absence of urgency. So you have to kind of say, by when is this going to happen for me? And the fitness goal, where I know there's 2 things that I have to do. Number 1, do a food log, and number 2, exercise 6 days a week. I just read this great book called Thinner This Year, and it was the author that wrote the book Younger Next Year. Really a great book, but Thinner This Year was good. And he's a retired attorney, and really has a fun writing style. And he wrote that book. He co-authored Thinner This Year with a lady that's a PhD nutritionist and amazing athlete. And he starts the book off and just says, hey guys, I got to just tell you right off the bat, you have to work out 6 days a week. You can't do it on 1 or 3. And not only do you have to eat right, but you have to exercise 6 days a week. Oh, really? 6 days? So, but it's just a habit. It's another thing that you have to kind of start in on and start doing. You say, what you have to do is you have to decide the most important day of your life is the day that you decide today is the most important day of your life. Whatever that is. I was in this coaching program once where I was being coached to be a coach. And the guy that led the program is a really neat guy. His name's Daniel Harkavy. And the company is called Building Champions. And for whatever reason, this guy always intimidated me. I actually had a hard time just going up and talking with him, because I in advance I would go, think of something brilliant, like a really good question or something. And I never could think of one. I don't have a whole lot of brilliant thoughts. So like the coaching thing, to graduate, I had to do an interview with Daniel, a telephone interview. It was a mock interview where we were doing a life planning exercise. So I had to kind of ask Daniel, what was important to him in his life. I really think I'd do a much better job today if I had to do it again. But afterwards, I went in and we kind of debriefed, and he goes, Ron, have you ever lost anybody really close to you? Somebody like around your age. And at that time I said, well, no, I haven't. He said, well, don't worry, you will. And when you do, you'll really understand the brevity of life. And for those of you that have lost somebody close to you, it's like, wow, man, there's no guarantee you're going to live forever. If you had a close call, or a scare at the doctor of like, oh my gosh, I have what? You'll understand then. And I haven't had that yet myself, but in a minute, things can be gone. So what would you do differently if you knew that you had this really short period of time to live? And it's like, no longer do I want to say, and this is why I'm really convinced 2014 is going to be my best year ever, because I'm going to decide today that I'm going to finally do these things that I've been talking about doing, and I'm going to have that urgency. Number 4, really a lack of clarity. So a lot of people, when they do their goals, I used to do them kind of in my head, and I know people that do them in their head, and I know there's more than one way to do this. This way is not the only way, and there's plenty of very successful people that can do it on their head. Most of us need to have it in writing, and you need to have a plan, and it needs to have some substance behind it. You've got to have some action plans and some dates by when, and some reminders or an accountability partner, somebody, but there has to be some clarity. And they say lack of clarity is the ultimate cause of mediocrity. And really, really mediocrity is how you compare, not to your peers. And oftentimes what I will do, I'm this kind of perfectionist that I have an issue with, have had a problem with what they call gap thinking, where regardless of the level of success that I've had, I can always look around and go, well, yeah, but look at this person. Look how much better they're doing. You know, and I don't know if anybody's ever guilty of this gap thinking, but you know, the definition is like how you compare to the person that you could be. You know, so living up to your potential, not, you know, as it compares to somebody else. Number 5, having an ineffective strategy. You know, what are your strategies for whatever your goal is you want to have? Whether if it's a financial strategy, you know, I want to be a millionaire when I retire. It's kind of vague. I mean, what does that mean? You know, a millionaire, do you want to have $1 million? You know, how much do you have today? How much are you putting aside every month for retirement? Do you have like a debt restructure pay down? What are the step-by-step, are you going to, you know, when you have $1 million, how are you going to ensure that you keep it? So you have to have some kind of a strategy. You know, they said the clarity is the what, the strategy are how are you going to ensure that it happens. And then lastly, really not having a system for accountability. So some people are really good with just saying, I'm going to do it, and they buckle down and they do it themselves. You know, my buddy Ken Kirsten is such a disciplined guy. I've never met anybody, you know, more disciplined than Ken. I would look at that candy bar and, you know, I'd probably have to sneak a couple bites of it. If it's 50% of the saturated fat in one day, I'm just going to eat a quarter of a can. But Ken wouldn't eat it, you know, and he's been that way really his whole life. I've known him for 20 years and have people that have known him forever, and he's just a super disciplined guy. I'm not that way, so I have to have a coach that I have to turn stuff in, and they'll measure whether I've done it or not. So, you know, I would encourage you, if you don't have the level of accountability in your life that you wish you had, you need to find somebody, and it could be a coworker. So, you know, it could be for whatever area it is that you want to do. It could be a life coach, Leslie, you know, if you kind of want to have some other stuff outside of business to hold you accountable. And it's just giving your word to someone that you'll follow through on whatever it is that you said you were going to do. So that's some stuff cool. I encourage you to check this guy out, Hal Elrod. He has a podcast I just signed up for. The book, The Miracle Morning, is awesome. He talks about journaling. Does anybody do journaling? Do you journal? How long have you been a journaler, Leslie?
Most of my life, but you know, some people journal daily or weekly or monthly, and I found, because my life's always been kind of crazy and busy, is I've just journaled the things that have been very impactful for me. So specifically in my life, they've been kind of the more of the spiritual things, but anything that, you know, for anybody where you know, lessons learned, the kinds of things that you know, you feel like maybe your posterity would like to hear, where they will learn about you and about your life and the meaning of life and all of that. I think those are those kinds of things that, you know, they're timeless.
Yeah.
And they're valuable to our posterity.
How long have you done it?
So, 20, 30 years.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Wow. Do you keep them? Are they by the year so you could go back and?
Yeah, I don't. I haven't done it as much as I should have, but there's nothing more fun than going back and reading it, and especially if you have down days or down weeks, or to go back and remember kind of the tender mercies in your life. You know, recognizing that, you know, you've been blessed in many ways.
Yeah.
And so.
That's one of the things when you journal, and I've you know, only kind of sporadically been a journaler, but I'm going to focus on doing it right away. When you have a journal, it's so powerful because you can, if you write down like your daily gains or challenges that you have, when you do a year-end review, if you do a year-end review, you can go back and look at, you know, for me, I was looking, an example of where this would be a benefit. I was kind of looking at this year and thinking I didn't really do that well. I did about the same amount of volume as I did last year. I made about the same amount of money as I made last year. But my goal was to make 20% more. So I kind of felt like, shoot, you know, I didn't really hit my goal and wasn't feeling that positive about it. And I started thinking, well, you know what, I want to look at something, you know, because I wonder how many refinances I did last year versus this year. You know, I'm kind of trying to change my business. And in 2012, I did 68% refinances. And I only did 39 purchase loans last year with 10 real estate agents. And this year I did 62% purchase with 24 real estate agents. So I got super excited about it. And my coach said, Ron, that's amazing. He said, you know, if you hadn't changed your strategy, your business would have been off probably by 35%. And I just read something yesterday that said mortgage originations are projected to be down 35% next year. So, and don't just focus on the big gains out of your journal. You have to look at all those little things too, because you got to add all that stuff up to the positive side of your credits and debits, and then the stuff that maybe had some hardships that you had. It's okay to look at those too and try to learn from those and go, shoot, if I had to do it all over again, what would I do, or how am I going to ensure that that doesn't happen again? And I think that having it in a journal, having it somewhere where you have a record of it is just invaluable. Okay, cool. Well, let's get into the nuts and bolts of this. So this program, this business planning outline, is part of the core training. So I'm in a coaching program called the core training, and it's super accountability focused, a lot of numbers, and it's really what I needed. It's system, structure, etc. They've been a training program for 10 years. They coach realtors and lenders. It's not a cheap program. I pay $22.50 a month for it. So I'm going to share this stuff. You'll get kind of a free download on what the annual planning, and I actually do it twice a year. So some of the things we do planning on twice a year. So let's get right into it. So first page around here, we believe. So this is like a little glimpse into what the core does. So they really believe there's 3 rules that they have, and this is universal, whether you're a lender or a real estate agent. Number 1, you need to prospect. So you need to prospect in some way. It either has to be daily telephone calls or marketing information, or somehow you have to, the goal is you need to add more leads than you're closing. Otherwise, you're going to go backwards. Number 2, build a team to cater to your clients. That's a focus that we've had here. I've had one person on my team for a long time, and I really struggled over this year with the second person, and it was my problem. I didn't really do a great job of hiring and the skill sets that I was looking for. We just hired a new guy that's going to start on Monday. I'm really excited about him. And we've had Jason as a business development guy for 5 months that's done a really terrific job. But it's building a team to cater to your clients. Somehow, whatever your goal is in business, if you look at creating this system of how do we really create a wow experience for our clients, it's either you are going to have to put all these things in place that you're going to do, or you're going to have a team to do it. And if you want to have success in all areas of life, not just making a lot of money, staying healthy and contributing in other ways, you can't do it all yourself. It's impossible. You have to have other people that are taking care of your clients. And then counting the money, the core. A lot of these programs are big on making a lot of money with zero emphasis on what you do with it later, right? And no record of what you did keep. And that's what the core is really great is. They say you need to save 20% of what you make. And as a real estate agent, they encourage you to on April 15th file your taxes on time. So in the real estate industry, so many people file an extension on April 15th, and then October 15th rolls around, and they haven't budgeted for, maybe they haven't paid quarterlies, and they haven't budgeted for the tax man, and not only do you have this tax bill, but you have a penalty to pay, and then if you don't have the money to pay the penalty and the tax bill, now all of a sudden you've got payments to the IRS and back payments to the IRS, and it's a really kind of deadly spiral you can get into by not paying attention to doing these daily disciplines. And I have a buddy that's teaching a program at Windermere now, Nate Short, and it's called How to Run Your Business Like a Business. And he's had 250 people through the class so far, and 70% of the real estate agents live paycheck to paycheck, and a very large percentage of them don't pay their taxes on time. So it's just a focus of, it's too stressful to do it that way, so you've got to save money and you got to pay the tax man. There's actually a lot of Windermere offices now that will allow you to have them take 15% out of your pay, so you don't have to budget yourself. 15% is a good number to have them take out, and then you can have them pay your quarterlies. Is that in everybody's office? If you're not disciplined enough to do it, and I actually talked to somebody the other day that said, his broker said, why would you want me to do that? You know, because he'd heard that other Windermere offices are doing it, and he goes, why would you want me to do that for you? And she said, because I'm an idiot and I won't do it myself. You know, so they're doing it now, so it's kind of catching on, and you know, that's again kind of accountability partner. So there are two laws: you got to save 20% of your taxable income, and you got to replenish your pipeline with more units than you close. Four major components of all great businesses. You have to have a vision of where you're going to be. So sitting down and looking at it in the future, we're going to do a vision exercise, or you'll have one available. You'll have an outline for how to do it today, of what does it look like when it's done, and you do that in this as if the year has gone by. You know, mine is, and I included my 1 year vision of it's January 1, 2015, and here's what it looked like. You know, a structure. You know, who does what are the things that we're going to do with every single transaction we touch to ensure that they have a good experience with us and come back again and refer their friends to us. You need to have a system. You know, anything that happens 90% of the, or more of the time needs to be systematized. Like listing checklist. Leslie, do you have a, when you go on a listing appointment, is there a checklist of things that have to happen? Or do you just kind of think it up in your head and roll with it as you go?
Well, in a listing appointment, when I'm face to face with a client, that's pretty natural for me. But we have massive checklists in-house that are a part of, I'm sure every agent does, that are a part of that listing file.
Yeah. There's what we've tried to create on our team is called a wow checklist. So our goal is at the end of the transaction, the customer goes, wow, that was really easy. And we're not perfect by any means, it's a work in progress. I've spoken to other real estate teams where they have when they have a listing appointment set up, the checklist is the day before there's a package FedEx to their home, and it talks all about you. So they've received, market stats, all about Ginger, whatever information that you find valuable in there. So you don't have to sell yourself when you go there. If you don't know them, if they maybe got your name from somebody, you don't have to sell yourself. It's already done. So there's a lot of cool things that you can do system and structure-wise to ensure that you get a better chance of success. Accountability, what happens if things go wrong? Who does what? Again, focusing on systems and structure. These guys say the bigger pile is the one that rules. The person that makes the most money and has everything overall going on in their life generally is the one that you can listen to. The core, it's cool. So the 2 years that I've been there, there's one guy, Scotty Foreman. Did everybody meet Tiffany? Has everybody met Tiffany, my loan partner?
Hi.
So
Hi.
Leslie Hancock,
nice
Tiffany.
You.
Everybody else, have you met Ginger?
No,
Ginger York. And you met Rick and everybody else.
Nice to meet you. Thanks for coming, everybody.
The right-hand person, the brains of the operation.
Behind the scenes.
Yes. She doesn't want to be on the front stage, she wants to be on the backstage. Yeah, it works out perfectly. But there's a guy, Scotty Foreman, so when he started at the core as a lender, he'd been in the business about 20 years, and he was doing well. He was making about $250,000 or $300,000 a year. He went to the core and just bought into their whole deal, and this year Scott's going to make $3.2 million. Wow. I mean, that just blows me away how somebody can do that in 3 years. And it's possible. So this possibility mindset, I've always said, if it's possible to anybody, it's possible to me. And he really kind of took it and ran with it. It's just the level of commitment that you have and dedication that you have. They do tracking tools, so there's some things that, get back with me if you want to kind of look into some of the tracking tools that the core does, like the greatness tracker, the lead tracker. Paylog is something that I have to do. One I just do, what Nate teaches in the running your business like a business is really the setting up a budget and doing a P&L every month. Does anybody do a P&L every month in their business? Do you, Leslie? Well, good for you.
Well, I don't do it. My accountant does.
Yeah, every month.
But, yeah. Oh, yeah.
Wow, very cool. It's very rare that happens. But you should. You kind of need to do an accountability every month of where you're at and are we on track with whatever. Are our expenses getting too high? Because it's really easy to run a deficit for a number of months and then go, whoa, where'd all my money go? Especially in real estate, you have can be a very expensive business to run. And then having some goals, so some good tracking tools. So we focus on, what needs the most improvement, and then focusing on what you're good at. And the thing is, like, sometimes if you have a goal of looking at things, it's like, shoot, I'm not very good at that. I really need to be better at that. But sometimes that's just not what you're ever going to be good at. So you can really spend a lot of attention and time and then be average at something. You can lift yourself up from being poor at it to now I'm average at it. So I think you kind of have to look at that and go, maybe I'm just not meant to be a technology person, But as long as I have a technology person on my business or in my life or whatever, then that's okay. I just don't need to be the expert at it. So trying to focus on your gifted zone and spending more time there. So next page is here, where are you now? This is a really cool exercise that I want us to kind of do, and actually the page under it, I want you to kind of put that one up front. This is a visual wheel. Has anybody ever done this wheel of life? Cool exercise. So let's do it. And it shouldn't take us long, but what you're going to do, how this thing works, is you're going to start in the center, the big round dot, and in each one of those areas, money, work, self, friends, family, love, life, spirituality, you're gonna rank yourself, your opinion, in each of those 7 areas on a scale of 1 to 10, with 10 being the best. And you're going to start from the inside out. So what you're going to do is you're going to count each one of those dashes is 1. So if you thought, well, money-wise, I'm a 10, then you're going to go all the way to the end, and you're going to make just a round circle, and then you're going to go around the wheel and rank yourself in each one of those areas. My personal thought is that you can't be a 10 in any area. There's always room for improvement. Always maybe it's a 9, whatever. But so let's take a few minutes and just go around that wheel.
So is that your satisfaction in that area, or you've attained your goals in that area?
Where you are today.
Where you are today.
Where you are today in each one of those 7 areas.
Compared to where you want to be.
Yep.
So is this supposed to look like a Flintstone wheel when it's all said and done?
It's supposed to look like a Michelin.
Good luck. That's one of the problems under self. I'm looking like a Michelin.
Yeah.
So you need a couple more minutes? These cookies. These are PCC.
PCC.
So organic, I think.
No
No
calories.
Organic
Yeah.
cookies.
Right.
It's away from home, they don't count.
I learned about my love life. I don't know. if
There's some
it's
snickerdoodles down here, Kim, if you prefer a
That's not peanut
snickerdoodle.
butter, but I don't
There's like a
remember
spice, I
peanut
don't know if
butter.
that's
Yeah, that
ginger
that I
spice.
had on top was molasses or something. It was yummy.
Does you want a
And I-
snickerdoodle down that way?
Snickerdoodles are good.
Yeah.
They're
Those are
good.
good.
Cinnamon.
Yeah,
Yeah.
run them around.
Oh, they're
Need
delicious.
just a few more
That's like
minutes?
$1 million
Well, actually, after
in
you said that,
calories, isn't it?
Cal,
Which
I'm
one's
gonna
a
hand it back to you.
snickerdoodle?
Oh, really?
Give it back.
Show you my willpower.
No, keep it for the $1 million.
Have a
I'll give it
cookie.
to my kid.
Yeah, okay, cool. Is everybody done with that? So that's a cool exercise. Now what you're going to do is you're going to connect the lines. So you're going to connect straight across, money over to work and work to self. And when I was done, mine kind of looked like one of those kung fu throwing stars. It was never going to roll.
The only reason mine doesn't is because I just did this 2 weeks ago, so
Okay.
I managed to get one of my things warmed up.
Isn't that the truth? So I did mine the first time at the core summit I went to in November, and I rated myself a 2 in spirituality. And I thought about it later, and I rated myself a 2 because I haven't been going to church. We found this great church, and when I find something that I like, I usually jump on the bandwagon right now. And we're like, I want to be members here, and we joined up. And we went, pretty consistently for a while, and next thing you know, we went on vacation, and then we got back from vacation, and we didn't want to go that Sunday, and then the next Sunday something came up, and then like a year later, we still haven't been back. So I was kind of hard on myself and went, spirituality, you're a 2 because you haven't been to church. I went, well, wait a minute, Ron. I think spirituality is more than just going to church. It's really, I think a lot of it is how you treat other people, and what kind of person you are, and so. you can do this visual wheel a lot, and
I
I
like
went
that.
back and went, you're more like a 6 actually in spirituality.
I like the way you talk to yourself.
Rational
I can-
A lot of people are really critical of themselves.
I am.
And it's like, like you're beating yourself up instead of, hey, well, really, it's okay. It's better than that. It's not like you're making excuses or anything, but hey, what about this? And,
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
think that's really, really
Did anybody have like a cool aha that stood out?
Yeah.
What did you have, Rick?
Well, this is ironic or whatever, but in my wheel looks like a duck foot.
Oh, yeah.
At least to me. Doesn't it to everybody else?
Isn't everything though?
Everything looks like that.
Isn't everything? Yeah.
That's one of the W's of www.com.
It's fate. It's
It's
fate.
fate.
If you had done this exercise
So
20
that
whatever years
does
ago,
have some meaning somewhere.
Yeah. You're doing the right thing. Anybody else? Cool. Okay. So what you'll do with this, and you don't have to do it now, but what I would encourage you to do is then you're going to go to this next handout, where are you now? And you're going to, in each one of those areas over on the right-hand side, rate on a 1 to 10, you're going to write the number that you rated yourself. If work was a 9, and then in the box, you got 2 spaces there. You're going to write what frustrates you most in each of those areas. A couple of frustrations that you have. You want to take a few minutes and try to get her done now? Couple, just bullet points. First thing that comes to your head. This gives me a chance to have a cookie.
Time. Every one of those, I look at and go, time.
Well, there's never nothing to do in this business.
Or in life, family, friends,
Right.
spirituality.
Right.
It's all time.
Right.
Spread yourself in so many different directions.
A couple more minutes. At the bottom, you're going to list your biggest overall frustration. I thought that might help the creative juices.
Yeah. Always helps mine.
Is everybody done there? So, interesting to know what your biggest overall frustration is. Sometimes that helps lead you to what your most important goal, could be next year. So for looking at all those areas, it's the next page that we're going to go is going to be where will you be? Where will you be in 2014? And then writing in those bullet points the same thing. After a year, what would you like those areas to look like? Big picture, bullet point, financially, paid off consumer debt. I've hit the gym X number of days a week, or whatever, date night with my spouse once or twice a month. So when you fill in this area, where will you be by December of 2014? What this one, where will you be a year from now? When you put in those bullet points of what it looks like, trying to look ahead and say, it's like, hey, these are my goals for those areas. These are what for 2014 to be my best year ever. This is what it's going to look like in those 7 areas. I'll know that 2014 was a success if these areas look this way. And what's really cool is I think what you have is a most important goal. Like your overall frustration, you say my biggest overall frustration is this, and then that can be what your number one overriding goal is for 2014. And what usually happens is when you create some strategies and gain clarity on what you have to do to reach that number one overriding goal, or what I'll call your mission for 2014, what happens is if you have these to-dos, action items that you're going to do, you create this new habit and you create a discipline in your life that you may not have had before. And then by having that discipline for that one overriding goal in your life, it usually carries over into a lot of other areas in your life too. Because all of a sudden you're like, well, shoot, for me, another thing other than the weight thing, I've been talking about, dating my wife more often. Setting up a date in advance and doing some really thoughtful things like going to Hallmark and getting a thoughtful card and dropping it in the mail. It's so nice to get a card from somebody. Or bringing flowers home from QFC. She's like, it doesn't need to be some fancy thing, but just thoughtful gifts. But I'm a knucklehead. I have to remind myself to do that. It has to really be on my calendar as a to-do item that I'm going to go do it. Otherwise, I'll just get caught up in the moment, and next thing you know, a month's gone by and a year's gone by, and wow, it needs to be purposeful. So I think that by having the goals in all those areas, it ends up carrying over. And I would love us to get together a year from now and go, how'd your year go? It's like, oh my gosh, not only did I do this, but then this happened and this happened and this happened too. And you can have your best year ever in all these areas of your life. So what that's going to be, that where will you be, that then provides a template for writing your one-year vision. And a couple pages back, my one-year vision's in there. So this is me being really transparent on, I had to write this for my coach and turn it in, so that's in there. But the format, like I always struggled when I got an assignment before on doing a one-year vision, I got all anal on, well, how am I supposed to write this thing? What's it supposed to look like? And you can do it any way that you want that works for you. If you're a really good writer and you want to make it like a 20-pager, by all means, go for it. I really am more of a bullet point guy, so I wanted to do the bullet points, so that's what mine is. I tried to do bullet points in all those areas, and it worked for me. But I wanted to just make sure that I hit all of the areas, the 7 areas of life. And like Leslie was saying, there's so much more to life than just making a bunch of money in real estate, and you're only going to be you once, and you really need to focus on all 7 areas. So that'll be a good template for writing a one-year vision. And yeah, you have to go off-site. You can't do it at the office. Really, even at home, it's probably not a good spot to do it. I've done it on the beach. We happened to be on vacation. I did it, on the beach in San Diego. If you like the mountains, you could go up somewhere in the mountains and can do it there. You know, maybe some Enya music playing, you know, something that kind of gets your creative. You could go to Snoqualmie Falls, get a massage, have some tea, got a room for the night, go look at the falls. I mean, get yourself in a spot where you can really dream big, because it's your life and you get to make it whatever you want. Business planning, so this is some core stuff. My lead to closing ratio is X, this page here. If you don't know your numbers, you know,
You gotta know your numbers.
I don't know.
You can't predict it.
You have to, you know. So, like the core, one of the forms that we use is called the lead tracker. And I used to be a spiral binder guy. I actually still have a spiral binder, but I used to only write these leads. It was kind of my day, you know, where the call would come in and Rick would say, "Hey, Ron, I got some clients I want you to call. They're a ways out, but here's their name." And I'd write their name and their telephone number down. And next thing you know, my phone would ring the minute I hung up with Rick, and I'd get on a conversation with somebody else, and maybe I had to take some long, lengthy notes. And what I would do is I'd turn that page over, and I'd start taking my notes. Well, if I got another call after that, or another thing after that, next thing you know, I didn't reach out to these folks, and I get a call from Rick a couple days later that says, "Hey, did you ever connect with the so-and-sos?" Oh, shoot, I totally forgot about those guys. You know, so the core says you need to have a lead tracker where you keep track of every lead that you get. And I think some real estate agents are prone to prioritizing those leads where there's like an ABC. A is like a hot buyer or seller that's going to do something right away. B is maybe they're going to do it in 3 or 4 months. And a C is like, okay, maybe the next year. And where are you going to put your energy and attention? And if you don't have a system for capturing those leads somewhere, and then assigning some process of, you know, when they call in, then they get a thank you card, or they immediately get a phone call, and whatever that system is. But we actually have we have to go back and then call those leads. So when we're prospecting for new business, we'll go back and say, "Wow, it's been a year. How's it going?" You know, so it's neat. Sometimes these folks are a year out, and it's always like a free deal when you call them a year later, and they're ready. And your drip system enabled you to keep your name in front of them, and now all of a sudden they just kind of fell in your lap. But the lead tracker is good for doing that. But when you keep track of your leads, it also helps you to kind of keep track of your closing ratio. So there's a process we go through where we not only write the lead down and the date that we got it, and who the referral source was, and how many times we've reached out to them where you could. I also used to do, if I'd call them once, I'd wait for a call back. You know, isn't that kind of human nature? I don't want to bug them. I've already called them once. You know, they'll reach out to me, and then they don't call you back, so you make up a story in your head. They probably already, you know, I know she said they were going to interview a couple agents. They probably went with somebody else. Is what happened. There's zero fact that's in that assumption. You know, it's a story that you made up in your head. So sometimes, what our process is, we have to call 7 times, and we'll kind of make it fun at the end and go, "Hey, me again. I am, you know, really, I'm not gonna look at you, search you out on LinkedIn and Facebook, I promise. But Rick wanted us to connect with you, so I'm just gonna keep calling till you call me back." And most of the time, what ends up happening is they call and they apologize and go, "I am so sorry. You've called me so many times. I've just been busy. We went on vacation the next day, and thank you for staying in touch." But if you didn't have that, you know, system in place that you had to do it, you probably wouldn't capture it. But also, when we get a lead, we can look at the month end. We close every month out. And I want to look at what our ratio was to, we track lead to loan application, so getting pre-approved. So there's a percentage that we have a goal there, 35%, and then lead to closed transaction. So I think you kind of need to know when you're doing your numbers, you need to know, well, shoot, what is our closing ratio? I don't even know. On average, it's about 20%. So we tracked our numbers backwards and went, well, if I want to close 144 purchases this year, and I only have a 25% closing ratio, if I do that math, I really need to have like about 50 leads a month. And then where am I going to get those leads? So I think it's a good idea, if you don't do it already, to kind of track those numbers. It breaks down to how many leads per month you need, and then you need to have a system or an idea of, well, shoot, where's my business going to come from? If you know, a lot of it could be, and it's a reflection back on the past year of, How many transactions did you close? And where did they come from? What are the actions that I took to generate those leads? And did I have any actions? If it was like me, it was really I did a newsletter every month, and that was it. So, and that wasn't enough of a structure or system to ensure they were going to come back again and again. There has to be some sort of proactivity, either a phone call. And does everybody have a database of their people that they've done their transaction with somebody? It's some sort of, you have to have something, even if it's just Outlook. You got to have their contact information. And I think that a lot of people are guilty, lenders, realtors, combined, of not reaching out again, and especially the last 6 or 7 years. You know, if you sold somebody, and people internalize this, like if you sold somebody a house in 2006 out in Maple Valley, and that house then lost 35 or 40% of the value, that's not your fault. You know, that was just the market. But people internalize that and go, oh shoot, I'm not going to call them. They're way underwater. They maybe go online and do a quick little analysis, and they probably hate me. But you never know. But you still have to stay in touch. It's still your job as their agent. If you've represented them, if you want to be a professional, you have to stay in touch, and you have to, you know, try to connect with them once a year, and, you know, give them a market update. And that's just a great way. I didn't do that, and I did a really great idea on reconnecting with your database is just an apology letter. So all it is just saying, you know, you may not remember me, but, you know, we did a real estate transaction together in the past, and I apologize. I have not had a good. I haven't stayed in touch, and my new focus this year is to be a resource to you, to be a resource to my clients in whatever capacity that I can. If you're thinking of buying a new home, I'd love to represent you. If you're thinking of, you know, buying or selling, I would love to represent you. Even if it's just an idea, or you wanted me to give you an idea of what your property's worth, I am happy to do that at no charge. You know, but I've done that before, and what I did when we did it, I needed to update my database, so I didn't have all of their current, you know, telephone numbers and email addresses. So we sent a self-addressed stamped postcard that had a thing for them to fill their blanks in, and what I was offering was an annual mortgage review. And in my letter, I said, here's the benefits of it, and I gave an example of one of my clients that ended up doing a refinance and a debt consolidation, and all this great stuff, listed the benefits. You could list the same thing on the benefits that they received by the annual real estate review. It's marketing, right? And that's what you do. What I offered for them to return their information was I was going to, every envelope that came back, I was going to enter them in a drawing. This is how long ago I did this, to get a 32-inch color television. You know, a flat screen. You know, when flat screens first came out, I went to Costco and bought it. It was like $400. And we sent the mailing out a couple of times. You know, hey, there's still time to get it in, and included the thing again. We were inundated with deals. I mean, it was like a fire hose, and what we learned was, wow, man, you can't do your whole database like that, because we weren't ever able to connect with everybody. There were so many that sent their stuff back, and I really think the timing is right for you in real estate to do that as well. You know, because there's so many people that were underwater. You know, we're doing a refinance for a guy right now that in 2011 his appraisal came in at $420,000. He wasn't able to do the things he wanted to do, and we stayed in touch. And we just got his appraisal back again. I wasn't sure it was going to come in. It was a property in Redmond, and Redmond Ridge, I think. And the appraisal came in at $550, $130,000 bump in 2 years. So you have clients like that. You know, so a lot of people don't know. You know, we kind of internalize it. You know, people know what's going on in the real estate market. They all know, don't they, that, you know, we've had this level of appreciation every year. They don't. They don't track the real estate stats like we do, and they're not paying attention to CNBC or whatever, or reading. They're doing their own thing, you know. So that would be a great idea to reach out to them with some value. Building a team, you know, if the 3 core areas from the core: prospecting, build a team, and count the money. You know, if you don't have any staff now, you don't have to go out and hire somebody full time. You can get somebody part time to do some things, like if you wanted to do some marketing. There are plenty of college kids that are super talented technology-wise. Like what I did, I had all the loan apps that I had done my whole career. So I bet I had 10 or 15 years worth of loan apps. It was a huge stack. There was no way I was ever going to input that information into my new custom database that I had. So I hired a gal from the UW as a temp worker, and she came in, and she was so happy to sit there. And I mean, the technology was nothing to her. I showed her how to do it, and I'm like, are you sure you have it? Oh yeah, I got it. You know, one time, and she put it all done. It took her like a week to enter 500 people's names and loan information, everything in the database, and she had it done. It was so cool. So there's plenty of part-time people that'll do stuff. There are plenty of elderly folks that would just like to, you know, have something to do, have some kind of purpose. So you don't have to, if you kind of thought about, well, shoot, it's so expensive to hire somebody, it doesn't have to be. There's super affordable ways to do it. If you have a goal, like I always internalize, well, shoot, doesn't everybody want to make $1 million and be this super successful person? No, they don't. Some of them maybe just have whatever. So whatever level of your goal, you kind of need to work it backwards. And these are numbers for a lender on, really they say 5 closings per team member. So you kind of have to look and say, well, shoot, if I want to do 30 transactions, if I've only ever done 15 and I want to do 30, and I'm kind of running around like my hair's on fire at 15, if I want to double, who am I going to need to add to my team? What are things that they're going to need to do? A lot of companies have a transaction coordinator that's available to the office, so maybe they need to do the stuff that you don't really like to do. But trying to get a sense of, if I want to grow my business, you know, Lisa, because you're new and you're growing your business, you've got really big goals, you kind of need to kind of think of, well, these are the things I really like to do, and these are the things I don't like to do. And you hire somebody around your weaknesses and have them do them. You know, at the end, you enjoy your job so much more when you're not doing the stuff you hate to do. You know, that's why Tiffany, she's so good at all the stuff I don't like to do. And then you'll just look at the position. This is this person's job, and here's what I'm going to hire them by. And you set a goal. Counting the money is really about so many people in retirement. What happens if you didn't have like a parent or some kind of a mentor that said, you know, you need to focus financially on, at some point you're not going to generate any more income, and you know, you probably can't rely on the government. You know, none of us in real estate have a pension, unless Windermere now pays a pension if you've been there 20 years. I don't think they do they? Yeah, there's no pension, right? So if you have a plan at some point and you're not going to work as hard as you're working today, like I think that people's ideals have changed, where it used to be this thing like you're going to retire when you were 50. That's like outdated, isn't it? Because I have friends that are shoot, I missed that boat. I'm already 52, so that's shoot, 2 years late. But I did an exercise in a coaching program that I was in called the 10 Times Life Expander, and it's a really cool exercise that you had to write down at what age you were going to be when you died. So you have to say, okay, I'm going to be X number of years old when I die, and you'd write it down on a sheet of paper. And then he says, okay, let me ask you a question now. The year before you die, what is your life like? Describe your life physically. So you'd write down, you know, here's what my life's like physically. And then he says, okay, the year before your death, describe your life, what your life is like financially. You know, do you have some money? You know, what's the situation? And then same thing with your connections. What is your life like with you know, your friends that you have, your those folks? And then so he kind of wrote all that down, and then he said, okay, and people would share, you know, I'm, you know, it's in the best shape of my life. I walk 4 miles a day. I play tennis, whatever. He said, let me ask you a question. If that's what you were like the year before your death, what do you think the likelihood is that you were going to die that next year? Not very likely. You know, they say that people only die generally, other than catastrophic illness, for 3 reasons: no money, no friends, and no purpose. You know, so I read something the other day that said there's a problem with men as they age, is men don't, like women are really generally pretty good at connection, staying connected with people, but men have this tendency to kind of get into themselves, and they don't have this group of buddies that they stay connected to. No money, no friends, no purpose. So then we went back and said, okay, now that you have all this good stuff going on in your life, now write down at what age you think you're going to be when you die. And most people added like 10 years. And he said, okay, great, now plan out what you're going to do with those 10 extra years of life that you just got. pretty cool. Really neat exercise. So financially, you got to plan. You know, you have to do one of those calculators. You know, Dave Ramsey, Total Money Makeover is a great book to read. Susie Orman's a great book to read. If you're not financially savvy on your own, you have to get connected to somebody that is and read some stuff so you can get there at some point. And then you just break it all down money-wise. There's a from that there's a goal setter here. So this turning your business goals into actions. We won't do this today, but like we were talking about doing your vision, you also really have to go off-site to do this business plan. So of the wheel of life, here's what 2014 is going to look like, you're going to write down 2 major goals for next year. And they could either be business goals or personal goals, but you're going to write down 2 major overriding goals, and then 5 steps to achieve those goals. So it just helps to say, you know, okay, well, like my number 1 overriding goal next year is to double my number of purchase transactions again, so do 144 purchases next year. And I don't think it's that hard when you break it down. When you say these are the 5 action steps to do it, you know, I have to be consistent in the activities that I'm doing. You know, I can't just do I can't call Kim one time. I gotta stay connected, and you gotta add value. There's some marketing things you gotta do. So by having those 5 goals and steps within them, it'll help to turn those. There's an example on the next page of, okay, well, shoot, what are some ideas? You know, sometimes you need some help. The core has this definition of it's called an accounts pyramid. An accounts pyramid is really where you get your business from, and the level of that account. Like in a pyramid, the foundation of it is your prospects. So a prospect is somebody that maybe you would like to sell real estate to or for, but you haven't done it yet. You know, you've never done a transaction with them, but you know them, so they would be on your prospect list on the bottom. Then the next group up is your top 25 or top 50. So as a real estate agent, one thing that they recommend is creating a top 25 or a top 50 list. And those are going to be people that are, they're your advocates. They're somebody that they've either done a transaction with you before, or maybe they've done multiple transactions, they've referred you. I mean, they know you, like you, trust you, and it makes you feel good to spend time with them. So what they recommend in that with your top 25 or top 50 is you have a system for staying in touch. So like one of the things I have to do in the core is I have to have X number of face-to-face meetings per week, and I have to have X number of what they call break breads. And a break bread would be a cup of coffee, a meal of some sort. It could be a happy hour, a connection where you're sharing the meal, and it just it takes your relationship to the next level when you sit down and have a meal with somebody, doesn't it? Like have you ever had a business client over to your house for dinner? Like you're inviting them into your home. I mean, that's a big deal. It's like, wow, we're not just business people anymore. Now we're friends. You know, so the top 25 are people that you probably have a birthday program for them. You know, they're your VIPs, and you're thinking, hey, I need to know when their birthday is. I probably need to know their hobbies. And there was a great book called Swim with the Sharks Without Being Eaten Alive. Anybody see that? Harvey McKay. He was owned a company that they sold envelopes. They're a paper company. And he had this thing called the McKay 66, where all of his salespeople were required to know 66 things about every one of their clients that they sold stuff to. And that thing has not gone out of style. This is like a book that came out in the 90s, maybe early 90s. It's still available, How to Swim with the Sharks Without Being Eaten Alive. And I don't know that you need to know 66 things about your client, but if they're your top 25 or your top 50, you probably need to know their birthday. You probably need to know what their hobbies are, you know, and you need to stay connected. It can't be like I haven't seen them in 5 years, and it just feels good when you go to lunch with somebody that you care about, and you're not really focused on you getting a real estate transaction from them, but just staying connected, right? And you're asking them, hey, how have you been? You know, tell me what's going on in your life. And next, I mean, inevitably they're going to say, how's real estate, right? Tell me about real estate. So it's neat to stay connected with people. There's another, we're almost done here. I have this thing on rewriting your 5-year vision. I think you should do a 1-year vision and a 5-year vision. Companies do it. Companies operate in, they have to know where they want to be. If you're newer in your career, or even if you're at the latter part of your career. I talked to somebody the other day and she said, Ron, I'm going to do this for like 5 more years. And she's about my age. So I go, wow, are you going to like go out with a bang? I mean, what, have you just done that well that you don't need to work anymore? And she said, well, actually our kids are grown and they all live away. And we're from California. We're going to move back to California. I'm still going to sell real estate. It's just not going to be in Washington. Oh, okay. Okay, I get it. But wherever you're at, have this vision of, because it could be, I'm going to work for 2 more years and then I'm going to do something else. But shoot, you should probably have a plan for what that something else is going to look like, right? So then there's action items on that something else. Or if you feel like all I've done is work and maybe I need to join a gym, and Kim's got a great connection with his racquetball buddies. They play racquetball once a week, and it's neat to do that. There's nothing like hitting a guy in the glutes with a hard racquetball to cement a relationship, right? I mean, you give somebody a stinger with a racquetball, you're friends for life, right?
Yeah.
So the 1-year vision goal is the same for the 5-year, because you'll have those boxes, and that just, you're going to write it as if it's already happened, but you're just going to think longer, out there a little bit further, and dream big. That whole bucket list is, does anybody have a bucket list? Anybody? Do you?
Yeah.
Well, cool. How long have you had it?
I've had it probably for a couple of years now, maybe 2. Yeah, has a lot of.
How often do you look at it?
Oh, not often enough.
Yeah.
Yeah, probably maybe when I'm going through my journal, which I maybe once a week. I should probably.
Oh, cool. That's pretty cool. I don't have one. I had one, and I don't know where it is. It's in a spiral binder somewhere. So that, back to this whole thing for me this year, it's the goals and the vision are all going to be laminated. They're all going to be in my Blue Beast, so I'll have to look at those often. I'm going to associate some affirmations around some of the things that are important to me that I'll say every morning. So I'll establish the habit of. There's a cool exercise when you do these affirmations. If you say them twice a day, if you say these affirmations before you go to bed, and if you want it, let me know. I'll send you a copy of this bedtime affirmation.
I would love that.
Yeah, I'll send it out to everybody. And but too often we go to bed with all these things going on in our head, and for some reason my wife thinks about things a lot more than I do, so I can get a great night's sleep, and she's up worrying. And it's an affirmation about that kind of cements you can close your eyes and know that all this stuff is going to be taken care of. And I got something from Leslie that was so cool, an idea. We were talking about business, and I was kind of feeling a little bit, not panicky, but like, shoot, I hadn't had any leads in a while, and our business was a little bit down, and I asked Leslie, how's business going? I heard things are a little bit slower now, and she said, my business has kind of ebbs and flows, and I just know that when things slows down, it gives me an opportunity to work on something, but it's always going to come back, and I just don't worry about it. And I don't know that what an impact that made on me that day. And I told a bunch of people about it, and I go, she's right. I can really kind of worry about something that's so meaningless. It's like, wow, why were you worried about something like that when there's so many great things going on? It goes back to the gratitude and the perspective and everything. But that was really kind of a nice gift that you gave me.
I learned that lesson in Hawaii surfing. Hawaii surfing with my kids. Because you can't make the waves come. You have to just be calm and enjoy the moments in between. And it was so significant for me because after 24 years, or well, it was probably 22 years that I did that, I'd still freak out when it got slow. And it was just, wow, it was amazing. It came to me right in the coolest of spots, right in Maui. But, you just got to chill, right? Enjoy the moment. And
you almost have to have a picture of a wave at your
coming.
office.
It's coming.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
It's a gift.
Yeah. Yeah.
The lull.
The lull is a gift, right?
Because we're always so busy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
In November, December, when that lull comes, because that's when we often have that. Oh, it's really slowing down. What's the market doing? Is this just a seasonal slowdown? So it's really a gift to enjoy your family, enjoy the holidays, and get ready for next year.
Yeah. Yeah, you're right. That's a great way to look at it. I've got a neat quote in here that I clipped from Ralph Waldo Emerson that I just love, and I want to read it to you. To laugh often and much, to win the respect of intelligent people and affection of children, to earn the appreciation of honest critics and endure the betrayal of false friends, to appreciate beauty, to find the best in others, to leave the world a bit better, whether by a healthy child, a garden patch, or a redeemed social condition, to know even one life has breathed easier because you have lived. This is to have succeeded. That's Ralph Waldo Emerson. I just think that that's so true on your life, and that's really what kind of the purpose today was, not about making $1 million, but having an amazing life, because you just had one time. So thank you everybody for coming. If you would, I'm going to have Tamara pass around the survey. If you would please fill that out. And just let me know your thoughts on that, what we could do to improve.
Thank you
Yeah, you're
very
welcome.
much.
Yeah, thanks, Carl.
Appreciate it, yeah.
Okay, Ron, say cut.
Cut.
Oh, a little more excitement than that.
Cut.